Today on the 1012 podcast, myself, Eric, and Lea are recapping Arizona State's surprising win over UCF this past weekend, plus a look at some of the other action in the Big 12, including this weekend's huge series between Arizona State and Texas Tech on the road at South Carolina. Plus, Iowa State head coach Jamie Pinkerton joins us to talk about Iowa State softball and softball in general, and myself, Eric, and Lea are filling out a bracket, softball style, coming up on the 1012 podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, look, right now, Charlie Hustle continues to put out some absolutely fantastic bracket buster deals, and they're going to keep doing it through the week. That includes this weekend through March Madness. So you don't want to miss any of them. Go to charliehustle.com. Check it every day. They've got a new great deal every day. They've got them coming. They are fantastic. And look, if there's something you find on that site, and you're going to, because they've got great, comfortable, vintage college sports apparel for every single Big 12 team, all 16 of them. When you find something you want, if it's not on sale, do not worry. You can use our promo code 1012network, TEN12, the word network, and get 15% off all non-sale items. That's right, all non-sale items. Not first purchase, not second purchase, not one time, not just this week. All non-sale items. This is, of course, only, though, through the end of the month. So it's time to start using that promo code and shopping at charliehustle.com on all the absolutely incredible stuff they've got. If you're wanting to have something for the rest of the basketball season or to celebrate a great season for your team, they've got some great basketball gear that they've dropped, great Big 12 stuff. It's all so good. So go to charliehustle.com, check out the sales they've got going on all week long. If what you want isn't on sale, promo code 1012network, TEN12, the word network. Use it, get 15% off all non-sale items. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh. Hey, do not forget, if you're listening to this before the NCAA tournament tips off, we have a bracket challenge with Charlie Hustle. So if you've got an ESPN bracket, men's or women's, just join the 1012 network group. Okay, top two brackets for both men's and women's. Get a prize from Charlie Hustle, $75 gift card for the winner, $25 for second place. So if you've already got a bracket at ESPN, there's no reason not to just go ahead and put it into the 1012 Network Bracket Challenge group. Enter your bracket in before the games tip off on Thursday. Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference. We are the flagship show, the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. And of course, we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. It is Thursday, and on Thursdays, we talk softball. That's right, it's the 1012 Softball Show. Joining me as they do every week, she is the reason that our guest today was here, and he had a lot to say about her. The trash talk queen of the 1012 network, the mother of the Cycloneers, the most famous Cyclone Iowa State softball alum out there, Lea Nelson.
I cannot wait to listen to the interview with Coach Pink. I just know it's probably great and amazing.
Yeah, we talked about you beforehand, and then we talked about you while we were recording.
Oh.
So,
I feel so special.
You were a hot topic of conversation. If I was like, Coach, just text her. Just shoot her a message. Also joining us is the voice of UCF softball, one half of the In the Circle podcast, and one of the best voices to cover Big 12 softball that there is. He is Eric Lopez.
This feels like a tribute to Jamie Pinkerton because I just did a conference call with him. I'm getting ready to see him all week here. The Iowa State's in town playing UCF. Him and I talked on the conference call of how disappointed he is that Lea didn't join the trip here in Orlando.
Oh my! I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming out of your mouth. I would if I could.
Oh, if you could.
Oh, sure. All the adult responsibilities you have that you have to take care of.
I know. It's a busy time.
Well, it is a busy time. We've got March Madness going this weekend. We've got the NCAA Wrestling Championships going this weekend. They've really got to move those things. You've got college baseball. You've got college tennis. But we're not here to talk about any of those things. Or maybe we are later. We're here to talk about Big 12 softball because that's what we do on Thursdays. Let's start by looking back at last weekend. Ooh, what a weekend. That, so far, the series that we have picked each week to be our series of the week have absolutely delivered. Last week, it was UCF Arizona State, and it was I'm in the Softball 365 chat, Discord. I like to set up a Big 12. They'll have like series that they'll put little conversation things, and I always put one Big 12 one in everywhere. I put that one in there, and everyone's like 2-1, 2-1 UCF sweep, like yada yada yada. And then Friday happens, and it goes, oh, well that was unexpected. Eric, Arizona State goes on the road, takes 2 of 3 from UCF. And I mean, it's hard not to look at them and go, yeah, ahead of schedule, like we've said. One of the hottest teams in the Big 12, like we've been talking about. I mean, it's hard not to look at Arizona State and go, I want your opinion on this. How much of that series this weekend was Arizona State, and how much of it was UCF?
Probably a little bit of both. I think if you ask Coach Paul Malone, she was not happy with the way UCF played there, especially the Sunday game where they made 3 errors. However, UCF was also without Sierra Humphreys for the whole weekend, undisclosed injury. I'm hearing she should be back for Iowa State this weekend, so we'll see. But that's one side. But I give credit to Arizona State. I think they're legit, especially when they have Kenzie Brown in the circle. They are a completely different team when they have Kenzie Brown versus they don't have Kenzie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
When they have Kenzie Brown, I think they're a top 4 Big 12 team, a team that is an NCAA tournament team that can make some noise. She is that good. She had 10 strikeouts in both wins against UCF, really contained them out of the box there. She's a difference maker. They have a good offense with Kelsey Hall, who's fantastic, and Wendell. Although UCF did a good job containing them, but then you got freshmen like Ashley Mejia contributing. Ho Ching, the freshman at second base, contributing. You got the sophomore, Samantha Swan. That's the thing. Megan Bartlett's built a very nice young nucleus that's growing by the minute. And I think when they have Kenzie Brown, they can beat anybody in the Big 12. The issue is I don't think they have the depth. After Kenzie Brown, they have a lot of youth in the circle, and they're going to have to win slugfest in games that she doesn't pitch. That was the one game UCF dominated them, was in the game that she didn't pitch. And I think there's a confidence level that they have with Kenzie Brown that they don't have when the other pitchers pitch. In fact, I spoke to their director of player personnel, former Texas Longhorn, Mary Iacopa, who said she brings a calming influence to this group. And I think there's that confidence that you have. And Lea, you know this, when you have a great pitcher, there's that extra confidence you have playing behind a great pitcher versus, quite frankly, maybe an inexperienced or a pitcher that's not at that level. And that's what Arizona State is right now.
I was going to say, Eric, you nailed it on the head. It feels like you play a completely different softball game behind a pitcher that you trust and you know they're going to deal with, or when you play against a pitcher who kind of struggles, sometimes leaves it over the white, and know you're going to have to really pick up your D, which you'll do anything and everything to back up a pitcher, but the confidence you have when you know the pitcher on the mound is dealing is a really fun game. But how exciting is this for Big 12 softball? Just, you never know who's going to take a game or who's going to win. I mean, we're not used to seeing that these last few years, especially, back when I was playing, you could guess the series and you knew who was going to sweep and you knew who was going to lose, but you kind of never know these last couple of weeks, which makes watching softball a blast for sure.
Well, you take that, and from big picture standpoint, yes, the Big 12 teams have done a good job at a conference, but it's the whole conference is kind of lifting itself up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas years past, you had like OU, Texas, and Oklahoma State all in like top 10 in the RPI, and then the next best team was like 40th. Now you sit here with, you look at the RPI as of today, you've got Oklahoma State at 11, Arizona at 12, Texas Tech at 23, UCF at 25, Arizona State at 26. So you've almost got 5 Big 12 teams in the top 25, all who would all be quad one, which is right where like that those are tournament teams. That's 5 teams in the tournament. And then on top of that, you've got a couple of teams in Kansas, BYU, or 3 teams in Houston at 36, Kansas at 46, and BYU at 47, who are all within a range where you have like there is opportunity. And so like from a conference standpoint, this is really good. And for as young as everybody is, we're sitting here talking about, UCF showed some of their youth this weekend, but we've seen what this team can be. Arizona State's young players have really stepped up. Across this conference, there's seniors that are very important to these teams. Kenzie Brown, as we're talking about. But the youth in this conference, the younger players, the freshmen and the sophomores are all stepping up, which really, like, as fun as this year is, I don't know how you can't already be excited about 26. Because if these players that we're starting to really get to know and see blossom and develop and show out, just keep getting better, Big 12 next year could be number 2 easy. It's
very easily. By the way, Oklahoma and Texas are beating SEC teams like they were beating Big 12 teams. So maybe.
Oh, shocker! It wasn't just about the rest of the Big 12. Except, what did we say every single week here for like every season? Just like, hey, maybe can't wait till they get there, and then they do the same thing to everybody there. The vaunted SEC. No, it's just called Oklahoma and Texas. It's just called Oklahoma. Okay, folks. And hey, guess what, SEC? The Big 12 had to go through that 4-year class of absolute monsters.
Yeah, guys.
What's your excuse this year when they had to have a whole brand new roster? Was it? Well, they're just so All right. Texas Tech swept through Baylor on the weekend. Arizona swept through Utah. I do want. BYU didn't play because of weather. Kansas split a doubleheader with Omaha, and Iowa State went to Mississippi. We'll kind of leave it at that. It was a bit of a light week, in part because BYU didn't play. Kansas' schedule got weird, and of course, look, Oklahoma State and Houston only got one game on Sunday. The wildfires that were in Stillwater, which were devastating and awful, and shout out to everything that the softball team and that Oklahoma State community is doing to try and help everyone who was impacted by that. They're having I think Friday's game, tennis and softball, women's tennis and softball are teaming up to do a tailgate before the games that evening to raise some more funds for responders and stuff there. I got to ask this question. I hate to do this. You look at Oklahoma State's schedule so far. You've had now 4 games canceled by weather, 2 in the non-conference, 2 in conference already. You've had another, 3, you could say 4 or 5 or 6 games impacted by the weather that were changed with the scheduling or threw off what your plans were. The weather has not been friendly to Oklahoma State. And I'm not trying to talk like softball is more important than what has happened in Stillwater, but this is a softball show. It's what we're going to focus on. Eric, can Oklahoma State still win the Big 12? Like with the way things have gone for them to start conference play, you've lost 2 games. You had games impacted by weather in Lubbock. You're at a disadvantage, having only gotten 1 game against Houston that you would have liked to have gotten a 3-game sweep in. Look, there's plenty of softball to be played. Lots of things can happen, but it's not a great spot for Oklahoma State to be in right now.
It's not a great spot for either team. Oklahoma State, you're right. The margin for error to win the Big 12 regular season title is very small now, because now you go by if they don't make these games up. And I haven't heard that they will, and I'm not optimistic.
I doubt it. I don't see it happening.
Well, and that's unfortunate. I mean, that's a bus trip here, so I feel like it could be done if you be creative with it. But I tend to agree with you. So they're going to go by win percentage. They're going to have to win the Arizona series. They're going to have to win almost every series here on out, and maybe just run Blaze go through it. Otherwise, they're going to probably lose by win percentage if a Texas Tech or Arizona, for example, goes on a roll. And they're both capable of that. To me, the more interesting story is Houston, because you could say that it benefited them because, in theory, maybe it would have, saves them a loss or two in the record. However, you do got to get you got to get some resume wins to get into the tournament, and they don't have that right now. Full spoiler: my first bracketology came out on Wednesday on D1 softball. I don't have them in the field, even with that good RPI, because they only have one top 50 win, and that's against Nevada right now. That's it. They don't have a top 50 win against the Power 4 school, which makes this weekend series hosting BYU huge for both sides to get their resume up. So it could come back to haunt both of them from Oklahoma State from a regular season title standpoint. I think resume-wise, Oklahoma State's going to be fine. Oh, and to be honest, I think Kenny Gajewski would probably tell you that. Like, whatever. If we don't get the regular number 1 seed, whatever. We just want to host, right? But I think Houston better be careful because they may regret not playing those games. I mean, you have no control over it, but they might want to play those games if for nothing else. Because if you were to take one game from Oklahoma State, that is a huge difference in the resume. Like, I'll be honest with you, Phillip. Let's say they would have played a 3-game series this weekend and Houston steals a game. They're in the tournament right now in my field, but they're not. They didn't play it. So now the pressure's on them against BYU. They're probably going to have to face Cord twice this weekend against the Cougars. So interesting to see how that will make an impact down the road here for those two teams.
Yeah, again, Houston's best win is Nevada, who's RPI 37. Everything else is sub 50. They haven't really even played that many good teams. They've only played 5 games against top 50 RPI teams, and they're 1-4 in those games. And granted, one is Oklahoma State and one's Florida, but like, again, they didn't give themselves enough opportunities. And I get based off of, I think this team's a little bit surprising. I mean, we all picked them to finish in last place, right? But the offense has been good. The pitching has done enough. The defense has done enough. The offense has been really fun and exciting. And so you'd kind of hate for Houston to kind of be a surprisingly better team than expected and then miss out because the schedule, they didn't do themselves any favors on schedule standpoint. We've talked about BYU. You don't have BYU in there either at the moment. I'm glad you mentioned your bracketology because I did kind of want to lead to that once I noticed. I sent the rundown and then I was like, oh wait, look, there's the bracketology. We better talk about that today. I'm not, of course, as you mentioned, no Houston in there. You've got Houston and BYU among your first 4 out.
Hey, they play each other. What do you know?
Hey. I mean, is BYU what I think it is? And it's just, again, a matter of a non-conference schedule that is just abysmal, despite a win over Arizona State and a win over Washington. But I mean, they have 3 top 100 RPI wins. Every other win is quad 4.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's 100%. That's what it is. We saw this. We talked about it last week. This happened to them last year, where they had the wins. They had the wins to make the tournament, but the non-conference schedule strength kept them out. Not to mention a couple of quad 4 losses there. They're right on they got to do well in the Big 12. This is a big series for them on the road. If they need to win this series, I think if they can do that, I think they'll be all right. I think in the end of the day, the Big 12 will get a 6-team in. The problem right now is, Phillip, I don't know who that is. And this weekend might help solve that with the BYU-Houston series. But again, that's why I go back to Houston not playing Oklahoma State. They don't have much in the resume. BYU's the non-conference schedule. And then Kansas has 0 top 50 wins right now. They split with Omaha. So somebody step up and be number 6, be number 7 in the Big 12. That's the issue right now. And now, again, I want to emphasize, this is March. It's 2 months before Selection Day. So this thing will evolve and be fluid. But yeah, I think the non-conference schedule for Gordon, and he fights it. He'll argue with you about it if you bring it up. But yeah, I think that's what's keeping him out because you're right. They have a couple of good wins already. And I think if they have a good Big 12 conference season, they'll sneak in. But right now, as of today, I just have them missing out.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
So let's kind of look at where you have the Big 12 teams, and Lea, we'll get your thoughts on this as well. You have Arizona as a host, number 7 overall team. Oklahoma State is the other host from the Big 12, as the number 9 overall seed. Also from the Big 12, you've got Arizona State, we'll start there, as the 2 seed traveling to number 1 overall seed Texas in Austin. UCF as the 2 seed at the Gainesville Regional for number 2 overall Florida. You've got Texas Tech as the 2 seed at Oklahoma, who's the number 4 overall team. And I think that wraps it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's sorry. I got to do math in my head while I'm running through the list. Looking at this, I'm based off RPI, it makes complete and total sense that Oklahoma State and Arizona should be hosts, and both have opportunities to improve their resumes to either ensure a top 8 seed or lock one up. I think Oklahoma State, obviously, both in conference, but in non-conference. I mean, next weekend, they've got a road game at Georgia, 2 road games at Georgia Tech. Like, they've got opportunities outside of in the non-conference still on the schedule, plus OU and Texas. Oklahoma State being one of the only teams left in the Big 12 who has any midweeks or weeks off worthwhile, although there is a team this weekend we'll talk about here in a second, to really improve themselves. Outside of that, based off RPI, Texas Tech has the best shot just because they're sitting there at 23. UCF at 25, Arizona State at 26. Looking at any of those 3 teams, do you see that they have the ability or enough opportunity on the schedule to play their way into potentially hosting when the bracket is announced?
Yes. Yes, I do. Starting with Texas Tech. Big series this week. Even though it's not a Big 12 series, it's a huge series.
Huge.
Going to South Carolina. You win that series, that will skyrocket you. They still got to go to Arizona for a big 3-game series. Remember, they have a series win over Oklahoma State. They have a split with Texas A&M. Their problem is they have some losses that you just shake your head. The North Texas loss, the Idaho State loss. That's what's keeping them down for now. But absolutely, they can play themselves up to host. UCF, boy, it would have been nice to win that Arizona State series. I would have felt better about it. Now, UCF, they've got a midweek with Florida next week, which I'll be calling. That's a big game for them at home. If they could take that game, that would be another top 10 win they might need. They host Oklahoma State later in the season. They go to Norman to play Oklahoma, so they'll have opportunities to move up. But because Texas Tech has Nyjah Kennedy, they're capable of running roughshod. So I think those 2 teams have a chance. Arizona State has too many bad losses. And again, the issue I have with them is, what are they going to do without Kinsey Brown in games she doesn't pitch? So I would make him 3rd on that list. But, yeah, I still think the Big 12 has a chance because the SEC, which I have at 8 hosts, they're beating each other up. They're going to beat each other up, and eventually somebody's going to have too many losses. And I don't think some of the SEC realize that with Oklahoma and Texas in the league, that's probably going to be at the expense of somebody in the SEC that's accustomed to hosting. That's why Phillip, if you notice who I sent to Stillwater, I know that got your attention with Arkansas as an example, a team that's
it did.
I bet you did. That is very – by the way, I want to emphasize that because some people in the audience are like, why would I have Texas Tech at Oklahoma? Because they're under 400 miles in Norman. And by rule, there are certain you have to send certain teams to bus for 400 miles by rule. Like, they can't just fly everybody everywhere. So the committee will put teams like UCF going to Florida. That makes a ton of sense. Texas Tech can bus to Norman. Lea, you know all about that with Iowa State. When they made the tournament at 21, you got sent as a bus team to Missouri, I believe.
Yeah, we went to Missouri, and I think that was like our 3rd time playing at Missouri that year. It just happened to be like that. So we knew that field like the back of our hand, but we loved it because they had a great atmosphere. And again, it was 4 hours away, so it wasn't the end of the world. But all of this like selection show talk is insane. but it makes sense. And it's just crazy to me how important schedules are, to think that, BYU had the chance last year to get into the tournament and they didn't, but yet it seems like almost like they're making the same mistakes this year with scheduling. But I don't know, it's pretty insane to already be talking about who's going to go and who's not, but it does get me excited because the chance of 6 teams in the Big 12 is pretty hype. I know you guys are excited too about it.
Oh, immensely. And
Like,
the last time we got
amazing.
close was 5 was the 3 years ago when OSU, OU, Texas, Iowa State, and Baylor all went.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
You had 5 last year with Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, Baylor, UCF.
yes.
With Texas Tech and BYU as a first 4 out.
Yep.
And Kansas collapsing. Otherwise, it was looking for a long
softball, men's basketball. The Big 12 is just the first team out conference. That's what we're just going to start calling ourselves. That
It's like the
we'll see what happens. Yeah, when baseball field gets announced, one of the Big 12 teams is going to be first team. It's just this is what happened. This is this conference. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know. I love that the SEC is literally just devouring itself. It's a 16-headed monster that's just eating itself alive, and it's with OU and Texas just doing to it what it did to the Big 12, which is just incredible. It's just so funny. It's their problem now. I will be petty. I do not care. We are not above it.
But you joke about that. But that's why a team like BYU, hypothetically, at Houston, may have more opportunities in their resume because you don't have, quote unquote, we're probably going to get swept by that team or that.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. So even though I have 5 for right now, I think the Big 12, if they have the opportunity to get to 6 or 7 teams, assuming they don't get spoiled by certain teams in the Big 12 that we've discussed in the past. I will not mention because we're going to be very friendly on this show. But there's a couple of teams there that their RPI is not great that are capable of biting you, which is also something that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
So let's look ahead to this weekend. I mean, arguably the best series of the weekend is not in conference play. As you mentioned, Texas Tech traveling for a 3-game series at South Carolina. It's a big one for Texas Tech, obviously, because it's an opportunity for a series win over not only an SEC team, but an SEC team who's currently number 7 in the RPI. This is a huge opportunity for Texas Tech to get an RPI boost and get themselves in the right spot to be able to host. The Big 12 getting 3 hosts would be incredible. The year after Oklahoma and Texas leave, if the Big 12 can find a way to get 3 host schools, and I don't care if the last one is number 16, if they can get 3 hosts, that's a huge thing for the Big 12. And so, look, from a Big 12 standpoint, it's Big 12 versus SEC. I don't care how you feel about Texas Tech. Go Red Raiders. I want to. You're going to get plenty of Nyjah Kennedy. I think Lea Nelson is pitching fantastic. She continues to improve as the season goes. And this is a good South Carolina team, but I think we saw a lot of SEC teams in the non-conference who played really good teams and found ways to win. Auburn being one of them, South Carolina being one of them. And I think that's kind of started to wear off a little bit. You're starting to see the season start to wear on them. And they're not as good as maybe their non-conference record made them seem. And so I think Texas Tech very, very much can go into South Carolina and win this series this weekend. I have no doubt about Texas Tech's pitching. It's very much going to come down to how effective are the bats going to be? Because you know what Nyjah is going to give you Friday and Sunday. And you know you can probably get a little bit of Lea Nelson in there if you can. But can the bats get enough going? Can you hang on? Can you not blow a lead? Because I really, really I don't care if it's a homer pick. I'm picking Texas Tech 2-1 here. I do think South Carolina can get a win in this one. But man, I think Texas Tech can go into South Carolina and get a massive, massive series win that benefits Texas Tech and the entire Big 12.
Well, the thing that I like, the takeaway, because I watched a little bit of the Baylor series, is Nyjah looks healthy now. She played both as a pitcher and a hitter, which she hadn't been doing. She clearly wasn't 100% a couple weeks ago. I think she's healthy now, and she was dominant against Baylor. She goes to South Carolina. Umpiring there at the strike zone, sometimes it's a little fishy over there at South Carolina. I'll just throw that out there. Having been watch many games, just saying. But I hope they don't try to squeeze the superstar there in that region. But I do like Texas Tech. I think, Jerry, this is a big series. I cannot emphasize how big of a series this is, which I don't think either coach thought it would be this big when they schedule it. I think they were hoping to be a good regional. I mean, and again, why isn't this on linear television? Are you kidding me? Like,
at least one of them. At least it's all SEC, ESPN Plus.
Like they're going to be next door watching Dawn Staley in South Carolina win by 600 points in a women's basketball tournament. Just move the cameras on this Saturday, whatever. But no, this is a big series, and if Texas Tech can win this series, boy, they could be on their way to being that third host like you're talking about. So I cannot wait for this series because it's a big one for both sides. And South Carolina just beat Georgia 2 out of 3. I don't know if South Carolina is a top 10 team, but if they want to prove that they are going to be a host and can hang on, they need this series. So yeah, I can't wait for this series.
No, it's gonna be really good. I agree with Texas Tech coming out with a couple wins. I think Nyjah plays her best softball when she gets to hit and pitch. When you're a pitcher and you get to back up how you're playing on the offensive side, it's really huge as a player, and you just feel a little bit more confident. Not speaking from experience, just speaking from what I've heard, but I do think she plays her best ball. So it'll be exciting to get to see her hopefully back hitting.
Well, and she loves, like, she plays her best, absolute best in game ones against great teams.
Yep.
Against teams where they're going, no, we got to win this. You saw it against Texas in that first game. You saw it against Oklahoma State in that first. Like, when they are up against a team, she plays up to the competition, and she on game one, like, I have no doubt, unless Texas Tech just cannot hit for squat, like, Texas Tech is going to win on Friday. Like, that, period. I'll put $1 down on it. I don't gamble. But like, I just, like, she's going to deliver for them. It's from there. It's, can they steal one on Saturday? When Nyjah comes back on Sunday, is she going to be as great? Can Texas Tech's bats get going? So that's to me is what it's going to be. To me, the biggest series in the Big 12, I mean, as if getting a rivalry series in conference play wasn't enough, an in-state rivalry. It's now, based off D1 softball's rankings, a ranked-on-ranked matchup between Arizona and Arizona State in the duel in the desert, the battle for the Territorial Cup. I mean, Arizona State, coming off their UCF win, they're sitting at 4-2 in conference play, going up against an Arizona team who is 4-2 in conference play. Arizona State gets to play host here, and I'm seeing a lot of people who are very differing opinions on this game of, like, I'm not sure about Arizona State, and it's obviously a rivalry, and Arizona is going to give this their all, but like I'm very, very excited for this one. Like, speaking of series, that's going to be better than we thought they would be when the schedule came out. This is absolutely one of them, and I cannot wait to see what Arizona State does against Arizona at home this weekend.
I thought for a second when you were talking about the intense rivalry in the conference, I thought you were talking about me and Lea going head to head here.
Oh yeah,
I thought the same thing.
I was like, oh, all right, we're gonna go at it now, and then you brought up, fine. I guess we'll settle to second behind Arizona. No, you're right. Absolutely, you're correct. It's a big series. It will be a lot more pleasant maybe than me and Lea, probably, in fairness, too, with the Caitlin Lowe and Megan Barton. But it's intense. And look, Arizona State with Kinsey Brown going against that Arizona offense. I'm really intrigued to see how that goes. And, Arizona coming off the sweep. I know Utah's struggling, but Stoddard had a good weekend for them and as well as Nets and company. So I'm very intrigued to see how Arizona State comes back from that road series win against UCF, a home series win against BYU, pushing Arizona here. I think it'll be an exciting series, and it could be a high-scoring one with those two teams capable of scoring runs in bunches.
Phillip, I'm still so impressed that you called Arizona State right off the rip as your dark horse, and look at how I'm like, I am loving it. They are one of my favorite teams to follow this season. And I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do against Arizona. They're probably hype off their UCF series win. And then obviously we know UCF won the series against Arizona. So girl math / softball math, basically Arizona State's got this in the bag.
Sports math says Arizona State has already beaten Arizona. Now they just have to do it on
Right. I'm glad you guys are picking up what I'm putting down because basically they already won. Yeah. They won.
Transit. We all sports fans understand transitive property. It's about the only thing only mathematical equation that we all understand very, very well. No, I think this will be a great series. I think it's a 2-1. I will lean Arizona. I'm not gonna read too much into UCF going on the road and beating them. But I think Arizona State's got a shot to at least steal one of these at home. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I think there's so many fun players in this one. I hope we get a couple of high scoring games. I expect one to be some sort of weird 2-0, 2-1 shutout because that's every time you think it's gonna be a high scoring series. One of the games is like no one can do anything, and then 2 games of like 8-7 and 6-5. So I'll take all of it. The schedule is stacked up. So there's what is it? Is it Friday? No. It's Saturday. The all Central Time. The game started 11, 12, 2, 3, 5, and 7. So like I'm gonna have to have like 8 TVs for March Madness, and then my laptop over here just so I gotta have softball going on. I need a softball quad box. Well, I'll be following Twitter for wrestling update. It's too much. Looking around the rest of the Big 12 conference for this weekend. Let's see. We got BYU at Houston, as we've already kind of teased. Utah is hosting Kansas this weekend. Oklahoma State hosting Baylor. Hopefully they'll actually get 3 games in that series at a normal time. And then there's this other series against, I believe we have deemed them the 2 most online fan bases in all of college sports. That is, of course, Iowa State and UCF, a series you guys might be a little bit familiar with. Forget the analysis, Lea. We call you the trash talk queen of the 1012 network.
Yeah.
So give Eric your best.
Wait, you can't put me on the spot.
Oh, I can.
It's my show. I can do what I want. No, I'll keep it chill.
You give it PG. That's fine. But come on. Why is Iowa State going to
be in a different tone if it was basketball?
If it was good old basketball. No, I think Iowa State. I'm just cracking up because it's like, any other year before we started this podcast, I'd be like, oh, Iowa State, UCF. But now there's just this extra like nudge because I know Eric's going to be in the booth chatting it up. I know he's probably hanging out with Coach Pink, and it's just like.
Just because I care about you, Lea, I will give you a shout out.
Yes.
Now,
please do.
What brings up that shout out remains to be seen, to be determined. It could depend how your Iowa State Cyclones are playing. The tone might be determined by that.
Oh, I'll be ready. All right, I'll be ready. You
better be watching all weekend. I know you got the little basketball going on the side. Don't forget about the sport that brought you in. Don't turn your back on Pitt.
Right? I would never. I won't forget where I started. Who got me this love? But UCF, before they were even in the Big 12 conference, we were going down playing them, and I remember it was
in 19, right? You played there in 19.
Yeah, and the shortstop doubled off one of our runners at second and in the 8th inning or something, and I'll never forget it. Never.
Might have been Aaron Emanuel, who's actually going to be here part of Alumni Weekend. I'll bring that up to her.
I'll never forget. So I have some bad blood with you.
Just call in.
I am.
Get during the broadcast. Just call in on Eric's phone. Be like, all right, put me on air.
What time is Iowa State basketball playing this week?
Women play at 10:30 on Friday, and men play at I think 12:30 on Friday. So
see? No conflicts.
No conflicts. I'm in there.
I will see. I will say this about the series. Iowa State they had Ole Miss in that second game.
Yes.
Yes.
They can hit the ball. We know Angelina Allen's been pitched around. I talked to Pink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to give it away because Phillip talked to Pink. So forget my conversation.
No, you're fine. You go right ahead.
Everybody's talking to Pink.
I'm going to text Coach Pink right now and see what he's got to say.
How are you the one of the 3 of us that hasn't talked to him?
I was going to say, I'm about to text him right after we're done recording.
But they've been pitching around Allen, and other players have been stepping up for them, like Tatum in the outfield. So they can hit. They can hit Mallet and Bartholomew. They're pitching so young, and then defensively they make some miscues that kind of turn that Ole Miss game around. So listen, in all seriousness, to suggest that they don't have a chance here in Orlando is fool's gold. I mean, last year, a veteran UCF team went to Ames, and Iowa State run-ruled them that Friday to the point where I think you guys had to talk me out of going to ER after that performance, because I thought they were in big trouble. UCF came back, won the last 2 games of that series. But the youth of the Iowa State pitching, it's still growing. It's going to be interesting how this is going to be fast. You got a young Iowa State pitching staff against a young UCF offense. What gives, and that will determine a lot of this weekend.
Where Iowa State might struggle is you kind of mentioned it with the Ole Miss game. They have yet to really finish a close, tough game. I mean, we've seen it with Houston where they went into extras and they, Houston came out on top. And so it's tough. And you mentioned it, they're young. I think the pressure got to them. The fact that they were so close to beating an Ole Miss team, which would have just been insane and amazing for Iowa State, got to their heads a little. And I think they kind of got a little nervous and freaked out a little bit. But hopefully we don't see that a whole lot this weekend, and maybe they can sneak a win. I think that would be even.
Well, let me say this too. I don't know, Phillip, if he brought this up with you, but they've been on the road a lot. They haven't been able to practice at home. They haven't played a home game yet this year.
Nope. No, they have not. Yeah, he mentioned they were able to get one practice game in last week.
Right.
And they didn't even have the whole field. He shout out to the grounds crew for even giving them some of the field to get to use. They haven't played out. I think next weekend's their first home series.
Yeah.
Of the season.
That's wild to me. That is wild. And they have spent a few days here in Florida. Coming from Oxford straight to Orlando, so they've gotten a couple days under the sun, although it was a little chilly, although he didn't want to hear it when I said it was, it's 70 degrees.
That is so hot. That is so hot.
Whatever. But they get a couple days in. I know they practice on Wednesday, so we'll see. I think they'll play well. I really do. He usually hasn't prepared. UCF, do they get Sierra Humphreys back? They needed her. I think they missed her in that Arizona. I think she makes a difference in that Arizona State series. So I actually think it's going to be a good series, and I'm not saying that because I'm calling it or being nice to Lea.
Thank you.
That's the last thing I would like to do right now. But I do think, again, I got a lot of respect. Pink can coach, and he'll have them ready. But again, youth, you can only take youth so far.
Right.
Miscues will be interesting to watch.
That interview with Coach Pinkerton coming up here in just a few minutes. But I texted you guys that I have a dumb idea that we're going to try on the show tonight.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger, so I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
And I thought about it on the drive home, which is always a good, when you think of something last minute spur of the moment, that's always a great time to do it. So here, we're going to do a little something tonight. Now, this is going to be on, I will cut this part out to post on YouTube because I think the visual needs to be there. Again, I didn't warn you guys. I told you this was going to be stupid. But in honor of it being the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament, and in the honor of the fact that, everyone loves a good bracket, it seemed like it might be fun to fill out a bracket with you two live here on the show.
Oh, I love it.
You have to pick it based off if this was softball teams, not basketball. And if one of the programs doesn't have softball, then the other one is an auto advance. So we're going to run through this purely from a softball standpoint, not about basketball, not about any sport, softball only. We're going to run through this as quickly as we can. So we'll start with the South region. We've got number 1 seed Auburn versus number 16 seed Alabama State. I think kind of like in basketball, we should just go ahead and move Auburn forward, though their defense this year is pretty atrocious.
Good with Auburn. Good choice.
Yeah. I'll take that as a yes for Eric. Louisville and Creighton. Louisville, the 8 seed, 9 seed Creighton.
Yeah, we'll take Louisville.
Yeah, that seems pretty good. Number 5 seed Michigan, number 12 seed UC San Diego.
Michigan's got some bad losses in softball this year. They're outside looking in the tournament, but I'll take them over UC San Diego.
Yeah, I'm with Michigan.
All right. Texas A&M and Yale.
Ooh, that is rough. Let's go A&M.
Ole Miss and North Carolina.
That I kind of like it. I think we need an underdog situation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take. You guys go. I mean, Ole Miss got good pitching with that freshman pitcher, though. So.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Here we go.
Iowa State and Lipscomb.
Iowa State.
Does Lipscomb have softball?
It doesn't even matter if they did or not. Iowa State, 1,000%.
We'll ignore the result. Yeah, we'll just go Iowa State.
Marquette and New Mexico. So New Mexico moves on. Michigan State and Bryant.
First time we ever picked Michigan State in softball in anything. It'll be this one.
Absolutely. Okay, so Michigan State versus New Mexico.
Ooh, wow.
Eric, I'm going to throw this one to you.
I'm going to go the upset here. I'm going to go New Mexico.
Is that in softball, though? Is that an upset?
Valid point.
Okay. Ole Miss, Iowa State. We already saw this.
Well, shoot.
Twice already.
Wait, that's actually so messed up.
Sorry, we already know the result. A&M Michigan. I think it's A&M this year.
Yeah.
Based off the way they're playing. Auburn and Louisville.
I'm going to go with Auburn on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Auburn versus A&M. I'm taking A&M.
A&M winning that.
Yeah. And then Ole Miss and New Mexico.
Ole Miss.
Okay, so A&M Ole Miss.
A&M.
All right, A&M to the Final
SEC,
Four.
look at that.
All right, to the West. Florida versus Norfolk State.
I think we'll take
Florida.
Team on that one, yeah.
Yeah. UConn and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Sooner fans are living right now.
They're 9.
Dog against UConn. What? We'll take OU on that.
It's fun. That's fun. Memphis and Colorado State. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to trendy. Hey, basketball is the trendy pick to go with the 12 over 5. I'm gonna take this.
I took the 12 over 5 as well.
There we go.
That also feels like a game that was actually probably played this season if I went and checked. Maryland versus Grand Canyon. Oh, Grand
Canyon.
They may be the best mid-major team out there.
Absolutely. Missouri and Drake.
Missouri.
Does Drake? Yeah, Drake has softball.
Drake has softball, yep.
Texas Tech and UNC Wilmington.
Oh, Nigel throw no hit.
Texas Tech.
Absolutely. Kansas and Arkansas.
Oof. We'll go with the 10 seed.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah. Offense.
Sorry, Jayhawks. Sorry, Jay. Omaha and St. John's. Does St. John's have softball?
They do, but I'm going to take
Omaha?
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
Maria Graf, yeah. St. John's softball doesn't have Rick Pitino, so.
Okay, there you go. So Omaha or Arkansas?
Arkansas.
Okay. Texas Tech or Missouri?
Texas Tech.
Yeah. Colorado State or Grand Canyon? Oh, Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
Look at that, Cinderella.
Florida, Oklahoma. Second round. Florida versus Oklahoma.
Whoa, this could get controversial now.
Oklahoma.
Is Rothrock pitching?
Yes. Let's say yes.
Then I pick Florida.
All right.
Woohoo! Florida or Grand Canyon?
Florida.
Okay. Texas Tech or Arkansas?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech or Florida?
Oh, we're a 10-12 network.
Texas Tech.
Come on,
Absolutely. All right, to the Midwest. Houston versus SIUE.
Houston.
We can take Houston here. Absolutely. Georgia versus Gonzaga does not have softball. Georgia it is.
Typical Georgia gets a good draw as always.
Clemson versus McNeese.
Clemson.
Okay. Purdue and does High Point have softball?
I don't think they do. I think Purdue has to advance.
All right, Purdue.
Congratulations, Purdue. Illinois. Well, we don't know if it's Texas or Xavier yet. Let's go with.
Difference there. Slight difference. One doesn't have softball. The other one does.
So Texas it is. Okay.
Yep.
Over Illinois, definitely. Kentucky or Troy?
Kentucky.
UCLA or Utah State? UCLA. Tennessee or does Wofford have softball?
Yeah, they do, but they won't touch Tennessee. But they do.
Tennessee or UCLA?
That's a good one.
They played at Nutter. I think UCLA won 1-0.
Yeah, I'm taking UCLA.
Yeah, let's go. UCLA.
Yeah. We've had enough SEC. Kentucky or Texas?
Texas.
Yeah. Purdue or Clemson?
Clemson.
Agreed. Houston or Georgia?
Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. Georgia or Clemson?
Ooh, they played.
Who won that one?
I'm going to go Clemson. I think they beat Georgia, didn't they, on the field? I think
They might have. Georgia's offense is not great.
Young offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The pitching and defense is good. Offense is not great. Texas or UCLA?
Well,
That's tough.
Well, it depends. Do we want to keep with this Texas/Xavier? I mean, we'll go Texas. I'll go Texas.
You can go Texas? Okay, hold on. Let me pull up UCLA's schedule. I want to make sure they haven't actually played this season. I don't think they did.
No, they have not played.
You going Texas?
Let's do Texas.
All right. All right. We'll take Texas. Texas or Clemson?
You can flip if you wanted.
I mean, we got enough.
All right, UCLA works. We can.
UCLA, we'll flip it.
UCLA or
flip it.
Clemson? Let's do this.
Just we have to keep it clean.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick UCLA over Clemson.
Yeah. All right. UCLA to the Final Four. All right. Last one. East. Duke or Mount St. Mary's? Does Mount St. Mary's have softball?
Not sure. Won't matter.
Duke.
Yeah. Mississippi State or Baylor?
Boy, last year this would have been an awesome matchup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not this year. So we'll take Mississippi.
Not this year. Oregon or Liberty? Ooh.
Oregon. You're thinking Liberty? Oregon?
I'll take Oregon. Boy.
That'd be a fun one.
Yeah.
Arizona or Akron?
Arizona.
BYU. Does VCU have softball?
No, they don't. BYU. Gordon knows what he's doing, man.
Yeah. This is the schedule.
Scheduling, you learned.
Non-con be damned. We're getting to the second round. Wisconsin or Montana?
Wisconsin by default.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We're going to go St. Mary's. Vanderbilt doesn't have softball. The one SEC.
That's right.
Doesn't have
Oh,
softball.
yeah.
That's right. And then Alabama or Robert Morris, I think we could probably go
That's a
with.
very typical Tuscaloosa regional, getting a nice soft game open.
I love it.
Alabama or St. Mary's?
Again, this is like the Tuscaloosa regional.
Alabama.
Regional Alabama.
Yeah. BYU or Wisconsin?
BYU. Love BYU.
Yeah. Arizona, Oregon. They played.
Yeah, they did play. Who won?
And Arizona won.
Heyo!
Duke or Mississippi State?
We'll go Duke.
Yeah. Duke or Arizona?
I feel like we got to say Arizona. Come on.
I mean, Cooper Flag could maybe pinch hit.
No, he's got an ankle injury.
I think he'll be all right by this round.
He'd be fine. And it's a tough road for Arizona, Oregon, and then Duke. All right, Arizona. BYU or Bama?
Bama.
Yeah.
All right, Alabama or Arizona?
Arizona.
There we go. All right, so our final four. This is fun. We got Texas versus Texas A&M and UCLA versus Arizona.
Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, this is
I'm
from a
loving
softball
this.
standpoint. This is awesome. Texas Tech and Texas A&M split earlier.
I feel like we got to go Texas Tech.
Deja.
Duh.
Yeah.
The
Arizona
queen.
or UCLA?
Arizona beat them in extra innings.
We got-
12.
Yes. Ooh. Well,
Texas Tech or Arizona?
I'm going
Who you
Deja.
want?
Texas Tech.
Deja. All right.
lock it in. Lock it in.
Total points scored. Since this is not going to matter, I'd go with, what do you think about 6 runs total? That sounds about right.
I hope you win.
If that works out, boy, we might be moving to Vegas.
Yeah, split the
At this-
pot.
Yeah, no, done. I'll share the wealth. All right. That was, you guys are good fun. All right. It seems like a perfect way to wrap this episode. As we mentioned, Coach Jamie Pinkerton of Iowa State coming up next. Fantastic interview. We do talk about the team, but that's like the back half of the episode. We got to talk about pinstripe uniforms and shout outs to UCF and his relationship with other Big 12 coaches and views on softball as a whole.
Mentioned?
You don't get mentioned. Listen, when I get UCF guests, I ask about Eric. Okay. When I get Iowa State guests, I ask about Lea.
I thought I was his favorite on the show, but I guess
Honestly, you might be. I'm gonna text him that.
Lea or Eric? I should have asked.
You should
I
have
should have asked.
It would have been tough. He probably would have been like, "Oh, I don't know. That's tough."
Off air Eric, on air Lea.
1000%. Oh my gosh, 1000.
All right. Lea CJ21. Yep. On all the platforms, 12 on some of them. Eric Lopez ELO for Eric. Y'all watch some Big 12 softball when you can get it in between all the March Madness insanity. Eric will be on the call for Iowa State UCF. Tons of great softball. Don't ignore it just because hoops are going on. Look, your brackets are going to get busted, so just switch to softball, okay? And then just turn back when some crazy 6-foot white guy from who knows where university is suddenly 7 of 8 from 3 and about to take down 2-seed Michigan State in the first round, okay? Because that's what happens, and that's why we love it. But absolutely great weekend, everybody. One of the best sport weekends of the year. Have fun, stay safe, and we'll talk to y'all again next week.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Cannot go a season of this show and not get this guy on. It must get every year. Sorry that Lea couldn't be here, Coach, but we're very excited to have Coach Jamie Pinkerton of Iowa State here on the show with us today. Coach, welcome back.
Thank you, Phillip. Disappointed Lea couldn't be there, but as now that she's no longer a college student, I have to tell her to be somewhere at a certain time. I guess she has free reign to do what she wants. So tell her hello, and then I'll catch up with her later.
Yeah, absolutely. You got her number. You just shoot her a text.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I try not to bug them.
No. I think she'd be okay with it. Bug her all you want. Look, she talks about you on the show all the time. I think you get mentioned more than any other coach in the Big 12 on the show, in part because Leah's on here and is always talking about you. I got to bring this up. You mentioned this before we started recording, but obviously you guys have some absolutely beautiful pinstripe uniforms this year that the team's been wearing. And I think Leah's a little bit upset because she wanted the pinstripes when she was there. She blames you for them not having them during her time at Iowa State. So I think she's a little bit miffed about the fact that they have them now and waited until she was gone to get them.
Oh, well, Phillip, as we said before we got on, it's a democratic process, and the team she was on never voted. It was never more votes for the pins than not. I mean, the teams that she was on, obviously we had the pinstripe pants, but this group that we have, I think out of the 24 players, it was like 20-4. And I think her group was like 17-10 or whatever, however many we had at that time. And I was just delivering the democratic process and everything. But she never demanded to count ballots. So, but anyways, this group wanted them, and I have to thank our administration for allowing us to do the Cyclone script, because we found it on an old uniform, and it has always been, hey, you can go back and found it, and they allowed it, and it's turned out. We did it with a white uniform last year, and then the pins this year, and it really turned out really. And I'm not a big fan of the pinstripes mainly because I hate the Yankees, and because I'm a Royals fan and lived through the 70s and early 80s until the Royals finally defeated the Yankees. So never been a fan of pinstripes. So, but after I do have to admit, and then this will probably set Lea off a little bit more, but I didn't think I'd like them, but I liked the way they really turned out and everything. And when you design it on the Nike site, you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Okay. And obviously sat down with our equipment manager and our coaching staff, and we came up with it. And I have to admit now that I like them.
No, that's big of you. That is. No, look, they're awesome. The Script Cyclones, I loved Script logos. The Script Cyclones is fantastic. Look, there's a lot of great uniforms. You guys have some really good ones, and those pinstripe Script Cyclone, like that's just it's such an awesome combo, and they look
Well,
fantastic.
appreciate that, and also too, I originally I have to put a disclaimer on it. I wanted Nike didn't have the '80s Cyclone script at the time we ordered these uniforms, and then I wanted what basketball had on theirs this year on the gold uniforms, the arced
Okay.
Cyclones with the S with the ribbon underneath it. That's what we were shooting for, but we couldn't get it, and then this turned out this way, and then with this set of uniforms, you know. Our administration allowed us to keep it, so maybe it's something softball that has, and maybe it'll become more popular.
Well, I think it's awesome. Look, put that thing on a hat, send it to me. We'll put it on the wall, and I'll wear it around because I think it looks fantastic. Coach, obviously you're coming to us from your hotel there in Orlando. Came out. We're in Mississippi last past weekend at a tournament at Ole Miss. Now you guys are in Orlando to face UCF this weekend. I want to ask you about the schedule. It is interesting. You guys are actually going to play UCF Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as opposed to traditional Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How did that kind of come together, and what was the thought process behind moving this series up like this?
Well, just I talked to Cindy, Coach Ball Malone, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just friends with her, but just athletic departments being mindful and knowing that obviously this time of year we rarely ever get outside to practice, and we were able to get on our field one day last week. Very thankful for that. Our Joe Hill and our grounds crew did an excellent job getting the field ready for us. It wasn't completely ready, but it was able to get outside. And just knowing that on this trip that we were going to get down here and get some time practice wise on a field was part of the reason why we swung through on the bye week to Ole Miss and then flew in here yesterday. Got in here yesterday afternoon. And also too with budgets and everything, just kind of had a conversation with UCF and their people, and Coach Ball Malone, she agreed to move it up so that we could get home and save a night hotel. I mean, it was more fiscally responsible and then we don't have to rush out either on Sunday, because a lot of times, Phillip, there's drop dead times, and if you have delays and things of that nature, that allows us to get out of here later, and then and also too gets our players back. We have and Lea can tell you this, every flight into Des Moines seems like it lands between 11 and midnight, and we always get back to Ames at 1 or 2. So being able to get back in and give our players a day before they start classes back on Monday, and that was, I'm just grateful that Cindy did that for us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's not. It was that they worked with us, and
yeah,
and also too, it allows allows a little bit too for weather and everything. We won't have on that Saturday. There's some flights that we were able to get that we don't have to worry about the drop dead time.
Yeah, I hate when we see games get canceled because of scheduling issues like that, and so it's great to be able to get the whole series in. And this is again another just feel like, as much as we talk about you on the podcast because of Lea, we also seem to bring up all the reasons that we like UCF softball for all the things that they do, both in support of the sport and just being good members of the conference and good people. And so it's great to hear that you guys are able to work that out. The relationship is so good there, and obviously, most of you coaches, it feels like the softball coaching community, I think this is in every case, especially in softball, it feels like such a tight-knit community that you all know each other pretty well. And that's awesome. And it makes these kinds of opportunities more readily available, that you can just have these conversations with each other and come from a similar place of understanding, being a spring sport and weather being the way it is and impacting things the way it does. That you guys are able to work this stuff out. It makes me feel good. It's such a little thing. But I think anymore nowadays, like even the little things, it's just nice to see.
Well, and you're absolutely right, Phillip. It's a tight-knit group, and I feel the coaches in the Big 12. Obviously, I know some of them more than others, but they're always willing. I mean, obviously between the lines, we want to win, but for the good of the sport, it seems, or for the student athlete welfare issue part of it, I think all of the coaches in the Big 12 are really good about collaborating and talking and working things out. I mean, I wouldn't say every week, but pretty close to every week, I have a conversation with one of the coaches that I'll call them, or they'll ask them what they think about something, or they'll call me. And I guess that's one of the things about being sorry, this office chair in this room is not as comfortable as mine. Just kind of being in, as long as with the new teams coming in, and I'm getting up there outside of Coach Moore, probably. I can't think. Coach Gajewski's been at Oklahoma State a couple of years. I'm not sure how many, couple, 2 or 3 longer than I've been at Iowa State. You come into the league and you kind of feel your way, and then now it seems like I'm one of the longest tenured ones. So, but it's good. And then, you get to know them a little bit. You have those conversations, and then you ask about each other's families and things of that nature. And I hope that it happens in other sport, but it seems I really enjoy coaching softball because of that tight knit circle and the camaraderie that we have, and for the most part, I feel in the Big 12 and then with the new members that everyone is doing. You get in a room like that at a meeting, and everybody's doing, I think, what's best for the conference, and not going for agendas that fit what they want for their school. And I think when you do that, things can kind of get dicey. But for the most part, the meetings that we've had have been really, really great.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, that's how you grow the sport. That's how you grow the conference. And look, I wish we could say that was obviously the case for every sport, but we know that not always is. You kind of touched on you being now one of the more let's call you elders of the conference, not from an age standpoint necessarily, but just having been in the conference for a while, talk with coaches on a regular basis. What are some of the things, and you having been someone who's served on the selection committee as well, you've been in all these different aspects of the sport, various different places you coach. What are some of the things that you feel like you and other coaches are talking about a lot as far as the health of the sport, the things that you're dealing with and facing and trying to figure your way through out right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of things going on in college athletics in general. And, without getting out of the confidentiality of the room, I think we're all trying to navigate, what's coming with, NIL and the House settlement, and how that's going, to what's the trickle down going to be. Obviously, we know what it's doing and has done for, the money making sports, football and men's and women's basketball. I think we're sitting as a group. I think we're just trying to figure out and gather. We're kind of on information gathering, and I think a lot of that'll come out and become more visible or come to light as the House settlement gets settled and things start moving forward. I mean, obviously, the schools and my program, or our program, from a softball standpoint, is we're just in a time that we're being fiscally responsible, and until we see what's happened, what's going to happen down the road. So a lot of that, we have a great AD, and Jamie Pollard, my boss, Dr. Callie Sanders, is fantastic. They've been very transparent in what we're trying to do as a university. I think there's still a lot of what ifs and unknowns out there. Until that gets clarified, I think everything's kind of in a talking situation and saying, hey, what we're working on possibilities rather than absolutes.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, we all understand that the way college athletics are going, it is the only constant is change. It seems like that's becoming more and more a thing, and it's so rapid and like as I describe it now, it's like having a bunch of chainsaws that are turned on. You're trying to juggle all of them at the same time, and I definitely feels like we talk about, or the conversation's always about football, and the conversations is about basketball, and
as it should be,
right. Well, and I get all of that. It definitely, I start to wonder if or believe that the sports that are obviously going to be the most impacted because they're not football and basketball are sports like softball, and so is that kind of part of the conversation, and how do we help kind of protect college softball in a way, because it's a great sport and it's growing. I know I'm asking you a question that I don't think anyone has an answer to.
I don't have an answer. It's above my pay grade, but I think like I said, I'm fortunate we have an administration, and Jamie Pollard and like I said, Callie Sanders is out in front and being very transparent with what we're trying to do from a budgetary standpoint. And I think they kind of know the groundwork's being laid, and I think they have a plan, but nothing really. I know they have a plan, but I think that until that can't be executed until this thing is finally settled, and then what are the new NCAA rules?
No, this thing is a living, breathing life form that's ever changing, mutating, and growing, and so we just kind of have to follow along as close as we can. But I still appreciate you being in the middle of it, in the mud, so to speak. It's good to hear your insight and thoughts on stuff like this. Let's talk about your team a little bit. We talk about the changing of the landscape. You don't typically bring a lot of transfers in, but you did bring in 2 this year who have been, frankly, phenomenal for you guys, in Reagan Bartholomew from Miami of Ohio and Sydney Mallett from Illinois. What was that process like for you as far as going out and looking for transfers, what you were looking for, and then kind of settling on these 2 players individually?
Well, I mean, we're always watching, and as you know, we've had 2 players come in, and we don't lose players either. I mean, I think we lost. It's for reasons and was done the right way. Obviously we've lost a couple, but we don't lose 5, 6, 7 players a year. I mean, we lost one this last year, and then we lost one a few years back, 3 years ago, I believe. So we don't lose them, and I think that's the relationships we build and kind of the culture that we try to have. I mean, culture can be fleeting, obviously, depending on the type of people that you bring in, and there's a lot of outside factors that play into that. But with Sydney and Reagan, it was just a situation that we were going. We lost a shortstop that had been with us for 5 years. Obviously, she played a couple of years with Sammy Williams and played another position, but we just felt like we needed to solidify that position and who we had on the roster. We decided to move to another position. So really got lucky in that situation. We talked to both of them, and it was kind of a process. And Reggie, for her reasons, Reagan Bartholomew, for her reasons, wanted to get back closer to home, being from the Des Moines area, Waukee. And then Sydney, I had seen, obviously in summer ball with her travel team, and had an awareness of who she was and the type of player, and just kind of talked to both of them and offered both of them, thinking we will either get neither one of them. I didn't, in my wildest imagination, think we'd get both of them, but what an impact both of those young women have made on our program. So I'm glad it happened, and we've been able to kind of solidify our roster and infield a little bit. So, but back to the transfer, we had one player come in, and then everyone knows Ellie Spellhog. I didn't even get her out of the. So basically, before these two, I've only gotten one player out of the softball portal. Ellie Spellhog, I got out of the basketball portal. She was playing at Bradley, playing basketball. So, I know in this world, you probably. I don't know if my way is working. I mean, right now in the win-loss column, the way we do things seems to not be an argument to if it's working or not working, but going into the portal. But I just think the continuity of the roster, the culture, and players knowing that you bring them in and you're going to stand behind them. You're not just going to go out and get the next shiny object that you want, or the next big name. So it's a very well thought out process for us.
That's great. Again, the two you've brought in have been phenomenal for you guys this year. I mean, you look at Reagan, who's I think third on the team in RBI at this point, or second or third with 18 RBI. You look at both of them. Sydney's tied for first with Jesse Clemens at 21. Like, they've both been impactful, both in the box and playing defense for you guys. And so, look, to me, the portal is a good thing. I like the portal. I like the opportunity for players to, our lives change, and so the opportunity to have some freedom. There's downsides to everything like that, obviously, but to see them come in to Ames and to the Iowa State program with you and thrive the way they are, like, that's a positive. Like, it's positive for you, it's a positive for them, and so it's been great to see. You did mention, the team has struggled from a record standpoint this year. It's been a little bit tough. Where do you, when you look at this team and kind of where things are, where do you feel like the biggest struggles are? And I don't expect you to name names in particular, but just where do you guys feel like, if we could fix this, or if we could find some way to tweak this, that we feel like it would make a big change for us?
Yeah. Well, I think early on, if you go back and look at our lineups, there's been times that we've had a freshman catcher, freshman pitcher, freshman at second, and a freshman at center. And then here of late, it's been more some freshmen splashed around with the pitching staff, and then now some older players. We've moved the lineup. This has probably been in a long time for me, where we have the depth and we are plugging in other players and we're able to play more towards matchups. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, as you know, with numbers and analytics. But it's just the versatility. Like Sydney Malott has played first and third. She's also our third catcher. So, there's some versatility there. And then obviously Reagan, since day one, kind of came in and established herself as the shortstop. And back to the portal piece, it can be a good thing as long as the players come in and assimilate and don't and kind of live with the culture and the personality of the team. And I think those two did a really good job of that. They just came in and halfway through the season, I feel like going and talking to them both, they're the type of personalities and the type of character kids that I feel like they've been here their whole career. And we both know that they're juniors. So, but back to your answer, I think it was, when you think about it and look at our lineup, I think the first couple of weeks we made mistakes because Angelina Allen was really the only one playing the position that she played last year. Tiana Poole's been in and out of the lineup. And then last year, halfway through the year, Madison Knowles behind the plate kind of took over. So 1.5 players or two and a half, I count Maddie as a half. She's not half of a player, but she kind of took control of that position in the second half of the season last year. So we had a lot of the infield, moving people around. There was no starting. We had moved Ashley Minor from third to first early in the season. Everybody was in a new position. And, now here of late, it's been Andrews at third and Bartholomew at short, Trice at second, and Malott at first. So, I mean, the whole infield's new. So I think it was continuity, playing together. And, here of late, we've played, 11 and 14. It's not great, but I think our strength of schedule is 25 or 27. I mean, obviously that fluctuates day to day. I think, the microcosm of our season was probably the second game against Ole Miss. Get behind, make a couple of mistakes, and then, battle our way back, get a lead, and then, don't close. And I think that's what this team's got to learn for us to take that next step forward is eliminate the mistakes, mental or physical. We know physical mistakes are going to happen, but it seems like we're doing our more fair share in that. And I told our players the other day, we can't say it's early anymore. So we got to eliminate that and, just basically execute and finish games. And, there's several games that if we flipped it, we would be above 500, but that's not the way the game's played. As my dad used to say, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we just got to get better. And that starts with me, and having a roster that is, have 8 new players. I have to do a better job of putting them in the right positions and helping them execute and be more successful.
Well, you got 14 freshmen or sophomores. You just 2 seniors, 8 juniors. So yes, you have 10 upperclassmen.
And the 2 juniors are really new. So what do you call them?
Right.
They're not freshmen, but just with Bartholomew. So basically 8 of them were here last year.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know where you're headed with this.
Yeah. Well, it does feel like a very something. Let's call it a transition year, and I think this has been kind of the case for a lot of the Big 12 teams. You look around, and there's a lot of new. There's a lot of young teams. There's a lot of teams still figuring things out. A lot of teams that we kind of describe as like a year away, right? Next year's the year we can kind of see some of this building, and it does feel like this is a building year for Iowa State, with as young as this roster is, as much of an impact as your freshmen and sophomores have had to have. And I don't think there's a spot where that's more prevalent than in the circle, where of your 5 pitchers, you've got 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 1 junior, and your freshman has been, frankly, your best one in the circle. And so, talk about your pitching staff, but also Kate Sinnott is your pitching coach, and obviously, like it's always a challenge, and you've got a young and crop of pitchers that you're trying to kind of work through. How do you kind of describe the job that she's done this year?
Kate and I, in the 12 years total that I've been at Iowa State, we've worked together, and I think she does a fantastic job of prepping and matchups. Each of our pitchers complement each other in some way. Where if we start off throwing the ball up with one of our rise ball or up pitchers, and then if teams start kind of getting on them, then we can bring in someone that can down and a kind of a change of pace. The 2 in the freshman class complement themselves, the 2 in the sophomore class, and then Jaden, the only junior right now, she does a good job and everything, keeping her healthy. We've been able to do so this year, and then breaking the innings up where we can use them all. She just does a good job of prep and matchups and the analytics of it, and she just does a great job and of calling a game. And then we're just with 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores, it's just growing pains, And I think the big difference is in seeing Lauren Skirman last year as a freshman. This year, I mean, her ERA is very respectable for a Division I pitcher in the mid twos. I haven't. I mean, I don't remember like I used to, but I think her ERA is like 2.8 right now. I mean, so just the growth and seeing that, and the one thing that Kate does a really good job of is developing and manages the pitches and watches the speeds during the week. And she does a great job of managing the bullpen even throughout the week. And if she sees their speeds down, then she'll back off, and if she sees that they're doing well, then she might push them a little bit. But does a great job with the analytics parts side of it.
Coach, I really appreciate your time today. This has been fantastic. We've talked about a lot of different things. I'm going to wrap this with you the way that we typically wrap our show, with a kind of a collection of questions that I've got. And so number one, peanut butter and jelly. What is your jelly of choice?
Strawberry.
Strawberry. Okay. Two of my other coaches have said honey. So strawberry is good, though. I like that. That's good.
Who are the two other coaches?
Let's see. Bartlett said honey and Eakin said honey. So the last two are honey. So I was like, are we going to have a three-peat here? Are we going to get honey? So strawberry.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's another one. I think this is maybe I might be wrong on this, but I do peanut butter, banana, and honey. Yeah. So, but usually if it's peanut butter and jelly, it's strawberry.
That's good. That's good. Have you tried a fluffernutter yet? Which is peanut
butter?
No,
I haven't.
Okay. My girls eat it all the time. So, and I'll admit, it's pretty good. What would be your walk-up song if you were playing?
Oh, geez. Probably nowadays. Probably one of my players at Montana played Carrie Underwood, and she clipped it where the song goes, and then something bad about to happen. And I mean, she turned out to be, that was kind of fitting of her personality, because I think when she left in 2018, she was the second most decorated hitter in Big Sky history. So something bad usually happened to the pitcher when she came up. So it'd probably be that. I'm a Gap man. You Drop the Bomb on Me kind of pumps me up.
There we go.
If you go back to something I can play back when I a long time ago, when we had the big fluffy gloves and everything like that.
Very good. Right.
In the 30s.
I know the Gap Band. I know as an Oklahoma State fan, that is the OSU
Greenwood, Archer,
baseball.
and Pine, Tulsa. Yeah, that's what it's. Everyone, a lot of people out there doesn't know that. That's three streets, and in Tulsa, Lore, and Greenwood, Archer, and Pine is how the Gap Band came up with their name.
Absolutely, love it. All right, who's the biggest personality on the team this year?
Oh, geez. That's a good question. Several of them could be. Tiana Poole keeps things interesting. Paige Nakashima, maybe. I mean, there's several of them. I mean, the one thing about our team, going back, you're talking about Lea type, that probably be those two. Okay. We usually have always had somebody that keeps the energy up, and Lea, I'll say this now that she's gone. I think she probably thought I knew everything that went on in the dugout. I don't even pay attention. And a funny story about that is we were playing out in Palm Springs. We were playing UCLA, and I think Ellie Spellhog had no-hit them through 4 or 5, and I think we ended up losing that game like 3-0, 3-1. And one of my coaches, I don't know if it was Kate or Aaron, said, "Man, what did you think of that crowd?" And I go, "What crowd?" All I saw was the 3 rows behind home plate. And they said there was like 4,000 people watching our game. I had no clue. So, and I've had coaches come up and say, "Hey, your dugout's funny," or and then some that didn't like it says, "Hey, your dugout's a little borderline classless," and that's always been my thing. Hey, keep it above board, don't cross the line, and everything. So I think they think I'm lying to them. I'm having a hard time hearing you right now, but it's just the age and everything. But I mean, someone that's kind of Lea-esque would probably be Tiana and Paige Nakashima.
Good to know. Okay. Well, Coach, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time with us today. I know your girls are off at Disney World and you're here talking to us. So
hey, the next time I went through that with my own kids, Orlando and Anaheim, and they can go out and have fun. I've gotten a lot of stuff done that when you're out of the office for 5 days, and then I'm going to turn my attention to the UCF stuff this afternoon and all day tomorrow and Thursday morning. So it's good. And the next time I plan on going to one of those places is when my granddaughter's old enough to be able to go. So they need, it's good to get some, and also get some away from us.
Love it. Hey, yep. Excited for when you get to go next with the granddaughter. Again, thank you so much. Good luck to your team this weekend and for the rest of the season, Coach.
All right. Thanks, Phillip. Appreciate it.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.